with all due respect to the record setters and the people pursuing getting a world record, all due respect, I do not care about what you want. I want to win a title. I get one of those, that is mine forever. Eventually, somebody's going to come along and break your record. It's just going to happen.
Welcome to the Shaw Strength Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Shaw, and today I have an exciting group of gentlemen with me. We've got Evan Singleton, Trey Mitchell, Kevin Ferris, and Bobby Thompson. And this is basically the entire group of United States representatives that will be going to World's Strongest Man. I think we're missing one out of the group of Americans that's invited right now. So, yep, Spencer Remick. So, pretty good group of guys and quite a bit of strength at the table right now. So how are you guys doing? Good?
Oh, yeah. Feeling solid.
Yeah, we're good.
Feeling great.
Thanks for having us, Brian.
You are more than welcome. So we basically have a training camp that we've got going in, and this is the biggest group of athletes that I've trained with going into a big contest. I've got with, one or two, but not this big of a group. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic as we get into it. And I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to kind of sit around, talk a little bit, get into a few questions. I did have people submit some questions, and I had to filter through them for the ones that were somewhat acceptable. But the first thing we're going to jump into, I just want to break the ice a little bit. What place did you take in your first strongman competition you ever did? So why don't you say the contest and the place?
For me, that was Richmond, Virginia, and it was the Beer City Brawl, and I took first.
Took first. Okay. What year?
Oh, geez, 2013, 2014.
Okay.
Utah Strongest, and I took first. That was 2016.
Houston Metroflex Police and Military Fire competition, and I got first in the team division in 2012.
Okay.
North Carolina Strongest Man 2018, I took first.
Interesting. So Denver Strongest Man 2005, and I took first. So it's interesting.
Theme.
Yeah. I think there was all first places. Is that right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I did not expect that question to go that way, but that's great. So getting into the sport of strongman for all of you guys, the next question, this should be great, is what's something about strongman that you love but no one ever talks about? So what's something you love? I know that there's a lot of aspects to strongman. I think to the general public out there, people see the impressive feats of strength and all of this superhuman stuff that happens, and that's what really draws them in. It's a component that I really love because it always is fresh and interesting and different. But getting beneath that surface layer, like I think most of us are maybe drawn in even when we're younger watching some of that. It's what's below the surface, right? And I think that's really what gets you hooked and keeps you coming back. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
I was always, this is going to be a relatively generic situation aside from for Kevin. I was the fat kid growing up. And I wasn't, until later in life, very good at sports. I wasn't coordinated. Later in life, I really blossomed into that. But I was always stronger than everyone else. And that was kind of the one thing from like 5, 6, 7, and 8 on, especially living in an environment where, I lived on an island. Like, I lived in Hawaii. What do you do? And I was the fat, pasty white kid in Hawaii. So for a long time, holding on to I'm stronger than any three of them was something that kind of, and strongman has kind of pushed that further. So that was the under the surface for me. And then when I walked in and I was actually excelling there and I was accepted for excelling in something, that was the big sell for me.
So just being stronger and then personal confidence.
Yeah, the personal confidence that came with everyone accepting what my skill and talent was.
That. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So within the sport, you said you feel like that's kind of a common thing for a lot of us to be bigger or kind of have a little bit of that history.
I do. And I think if you look at certain individuals in the sport, probably more than we'd like to admit, There's some of us that are where we're successful in other elements of life, but strongman dwarfs what our other successes are. And what that does, in fact, indicate is that for probably the majority of the life before strongman, a lot of us were probably struggling in some sense. And strongman provided, I don't want to say necessarily a home, but kind of like a kick into the ass to the kid who didn't know how he was going to make his living.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, you fit in, man. You fit in, and you kind of find that brotherhood. And, you know, I think that's maybe what doesn't meet the surface as much. I think we talk about, you know, kind of the camaraderie and, you know, I mean, this is a unique situation for me. And I know that, you know, coming into training for World's Strongest Man, I'm very selective about how I train, who I train with, and this type of thing. So setting up something like this is very different because in a matter of a couple weeks, the reality of the situation is we're competing against one another.
Yes.
Right. So yes, we're going in. You can look at it as an American team if you want to, but it's not necessarily a team sport. It's an individual sport. Right. So the goal of this camp for me is to have you guys come in and push me. Bottom line. Right. And I'm going to push you with the same thing. And so it's an iron sharpens iron type of scenario. Right. So you want to go against the best. You want to push against the best. But it's also that kind of brotherhood of the sport. I think that and that's what I was kind of alluding to with getting you hooked in, because you go in and you're maybe not as accepted, or you're maybe that outcast or don't really fit in, and you show up to this contest and it's like, oh, hey, I don't know how to lift that up. Well, this guy comes in and shows you how to lift it up or helps you out, right? And then all of a sudden you have this connection and you have this contest that you compete in, and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool, man. I hope you do good, right? You do good, and then I'm going to do better. Right. So it's this beautiful thing. But, you know, the camaraderie, I think, is very, very unique, right, in this sport where you can train, you can push, compete. But then at the end of it, it's like, all right, we'll sit around and we'll talk and you shake hands, right, because there's that mutual respect that's a part of it. Right. Because I know coming in just to this weekend, right, if you guys weren't working hard, you wouldn't be on a level where you could push me or challenge me or whatever, right? Like that's what you have to do. So it's like that respect of the work and showing up to a contest. You look around the room, it's like, all right, well, if you weren't working, it's going to get exposed real quick.
Yes.
Right. Like you can't fake the hard work.
Did you notice that camaraderie on the amateur circuit as you were coming up too? Or was there really an amateur circuit when you started?
There was. Strongman was not nearly as common. I will say that. So I didn't know when I was first trying to get into it, I didn't know, hey, this is how you do it. I had to kind of research it and seek it out. And then also access to equipment and gyms that had equipment was very, very rare.
Yes.
Right. So you're trying to essentially come up with, for me, it's like I had a guy welding equipment out of his garage because I couldn't afford anything. And you're like, hey, I need a set of farmer's walks, or I need a frame, or I need a yoke. I promise you it was probably not the safest equipment in the world.
He's got no idea what they need to be.
But, you know, it's like that circuit was there. And then I showed up. And at that time, especially in the States, you trained with somebody. So there were crews that you kind of trained with. So especially past the local kind of amateur level, if you were going to go to a pro-am, which at that time, that's what it was a pro-am. So the pros competed with the amateurs, and the top placing amateur then got his pro card, right? So you're going to these pro-ams and you're competing in that environment. So, you know, for me, it was dive in head first. That's how I do everything. It's just, I'm going to go hard. But I didn't know anybody. I didn't have anybody to teach me. It's just kind of learning as I go. So, you know, I went to my first pro-am. I hopped in the car, drove to St. Louis to compete, and I walked in the door. And the question to me was, well, who are you and who do you train with? Right. And I was like, well, I don't train with anybody. I'm just here to compete. Right. It's my name. I'm going to sign up and do it, you know. And that's just kind of how it was. So I didn't know. I wasn't part of a group that kind of came in, and things have changed drastically since that point in time. Much more readily accessible. The amateur side of the United States Strongman has grown and blossomed, right? And it's much more accepting in a way. Like, come in and try this. When I started, there was no novice class. Novice wasn't a thing. You just went in, you're the lightweight, heavyweight. That's it, right? So you come in, and so if you were just trying to get your feet wet and feel it out, That's not a thing. You go in and you compete. So you're competing with the bigger weights and that type of thing. So it's changed. I think it's changed a lot. And that's kind of the next part of this, like we can get into, is like American Strongman in general, how it has evolved from when I got going and you guys all started and like where it is now.
Yeah, well, I would. So at your Pro-Am show, not knowing anyone, knowing you, after you left, how many friends, how many people came up to you and were like, oh, like
I got to meet a ton
relationships,
of,
and things like.
I wouldn't say for me it was necessarily a lot of relationships. It was more just talking while we were there, and I got my feet wet. Yeah. I got my feet wet, and so there was different guys offering pieces of advice. Because I mean, at this contest, like for example, at that point in time, I had only done one yoke run in a contest, and that was my first yoke I ever touched was 660, and then second yoke was at that Pro-Am was 910 pounds. So it's literally these I got it underneath it.
There.
Yeah, and it was 910. I was like, all right, I quite literally dropped it about 12 times, but I finished. I thought I'd torn both my quads, and it was really bad form, but I didn't know what to do. Right? I thought you just picked it up and ran with the damn thing, right? Like I didn't understand how to step. I didn't understand how to brace. I didn't understand any because I'm just jumping in. But like things like that, you kind of walk away, and there's different people. I mean, that was the second time I'd ever touched stones was at that contest. So guys would watch and say, hey, I think you've got a ton of talent, but maybe you need to look at this or refine this or touch. So like those type of interactions were very good for me at that point. And there's different guys that told me different things at that time. And actually the guy that won the contest, right? And I feel like in today's world, this can get misconstrued in a lot of different ways, because we're talking, this is 2000. At that time it was 2006, right? So I feel like the world's a drastically different place. But he said, I'm going to give you a piece of advice, right? You won the contest, and we were just talking, and I congratulated him as you naturally would, because he just turned pro, man. I'm like, this has got to be the best damn feeling for you. Yeah. And he said, I'm going to tell you, don't train like a spoiled white boy. That's what he said to me, right? And I guarantee he grew up in a different neighborhood
place,
time. Yeah. But I remembered that. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not a spoiled white boy, because I came from nothing, right? And I had to pave every path I've ever walked. It's not been handed to me. And, I mean, a lot of people at this point in my career feel like have forgotten that majorly. Like, oh, Brian Shaw. Well, Brian Shaw had all of it. No, bro. I was training on equipment that was welded out of a garage. I didn't have anything given me. But I remember that, and as I've got, more successful or been able to afford different things, whatever, like you go back to that, and it's that mentality of like, okay, I think what he was trying to say essentially is like, make sure you're working like you don't have anything, right? And I think that's more the context of it, right? And so it wasn't like necessarily like a racial thing, but I think that he grew up, because we're talking St. Louis, like it's probably his background was that, and somebody told him that at some point, but I took value in that. I was like, hey, you know what? I can appreciate that. Like, you're going to work, you got to work hard. You want it, you got to work harder than the next guy.
Well, it's not a spoiled sport either. It's like,
no.
I mean, we could all agree, like this sport is, I would say it is a lonely road. But everyone at the top knows what it takes to get there, and I think that's what's created this brotherhood.
And that's why I was asking that.
Like, it's built on mutual respect, because we know that each competitor is just going through hell to be able to achieve what we do.
100%.
So there's nothing but respect for that.
Well, and what other sport would you see the guys you're competing against training with each other? There's not a sport out there.
I've yet to see that.
So seeing pushing each other and it's crazy. That's why I love this sport. It's like anything that I need work on, I know who to contact. Same thing. So
there's so few of us, and that's what separates it. I imagine golf is kind of similar. Not to compare golf and strongman, but there's so few of us at this level. And there's the thing is that number doesn't ever really grow. It rotates. Yeah. For somebody to come up, somebody has to fall. And because that number is never really allowed to expand, the people like those 10 guys or those 15 guys will say, you are the only humans in that moment that know how you feel. And when you meet that guy 3 countries away from home with a torn muscle, thinking about your kids, not knowing if you're getting paid because you got hurt, damn, did I even break even this prep? Well, those 10, 15 guys, those are the only dudes you're looking at.
Yeah.
That's it. Your mama ain't there. Your girlfriend probably ain't there. Your wife ain't there. Your kids ain't there. You're stuck with the 10 to 15 guys that would peel their own skin off to do what you're doing right now.
Well, let's talk about that. You bring up an interesting point, right? So there's only so many spots at the table, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? So World's Strongest Man, you're looking at 5 of 6 right now. Who knows how it'll shake out? Will they add a 7th? I don't know. You know, when it comes to the actual contest start time. But right now, 5 of 6. So those 6 spots are, I would say, highly desirable, right, to get into. And you know, I know for me, getting in, when I was kind of coming up and trying to get my spot, American Strongman was very strong. Like the competitive level was very strong. So we're talking going into like 2008, 2007, 2008, right? So you had all that whole group of guys that were there that were already kind of qualified. And I knew for me, if I want to get in, I have to win. I have to beat them. I have to beat somebody. I'm not just going to get an invite, because at that time there was just too many quality guys that were there. So, you know, going in, I had to force my way in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like, you're not going to get a special invite, and it's a very black and white situation, right? Like, if you want to win, you want to be stronger, you know, getting to that top level. So since you guys have all already made it to and competed at World's Strongest Man, my question to you, and I have my own opinion on this, but my question to you is, how do you approach it mentally, keeping that spot, right? So what do you feel like you have to do to keep that spot? Because there has been other Americans, or other competitors that get that spot, and then now they don't have that spot, right? So mentally getting to the top, how do you approach that? Or do you feel in your head that, like, it's, hey, that's a given now, I'm going to be there, I don't need to worry about it?
I think there's a fine line in that, though. I think that at the beginning, it's just competing, and it doesn't matter what you're getting invited to, you just go, which in the long run, for your body and longevity and everything else, like, it's tough. I mean, there was a year, 2019, I did 6 or 7 shows, and by the end of the year, I was freaking broken.
I did 10 last year.
You know, and that's
really
just
killed me.
So it's picking and choosing, but it's being at a certain point in your career where you can say, hey, nah, I can't do this show, or I can't do this show. Or, I mean, even injuries, you know, you see guys, and it sucks, but you see guys get injured and never get invited again. So it's, it sucks, but it's part of the game. So
you're saying when the door starts to open, you accept every invite. If you get an opportunity to compete, you take it.
Don't turn things down.
Yeah. Nope. Because I would agree 100%. I did the same. Right. There's one year I competed, I think almost 15 times, right? And you're wrecked. But you're not really prepping. But it's like, hey, and a couple of those for me, like, for example, I qualified for IFSA Worlds, which a lot of people won't remember what IFSA is, but I qualified for IFSA Worlds in 2007. Which had broken away from World's Strongest Man, and, you know, arguably a lot of the best guys went over to IFSA and were under contract. And at that time, you needed to sign to compete with IFSA or World's Strongest Man. Yeah, that was just a split. And I said, well, I you know, my goal is to compete at World's Strongest Man. So even that I'd qualified for the World Championships there, I wanted to go to World's Strongest Man. And so I got an invite to go to the Super Series, which is, back then, that was a qualification to get into World's Strongest Man. I feel like I'm talking about stuff you guys may or may not even know.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Super Series, and I'm like, hey, I haven't been training. It's like I was maybe 5 days out, and I'm like, yes, we booked my ticket. I'm in. I don't even know what the events are. I don't care what the events are. Just give me my spot, right? And I went in and did not qualify. That was 2007. I didn't qualify, but, you know, that was the first time where I'm getting to kind of butt heads with these guys that are going to World's Strongest Man, because it was on Venice Beach, a Super Series, and you know, I in that event, it was a tough lesson for me, because I had really good events at that point in time where I needed those to go very well and then kind of save points in the other ones. But as this farmer's walk, really tough set of farmers, almost 400 a hand. And I remember the loader didn't put the clip on, right? So I like adequately. So I was carrying them, doing great, man. And I set them down, and all of the plates went off the end of the farmers, right? And this, arguably maybe cost me my spot where I could have, because they used to do a cut with those contests where you'd cut down and then drop out like it was like 12 guys would start and then they dropped to 8 and then they would drop to like this. Yeah. So that event came where I needed to make the cut, and it ended up I had to literally go grab the plates and put them back on the farmers and then pick them up and finish. And it was like a tough one, right? Tough moment, because it's like I gave up this other opportunity. I wanted this door to open, whatever. But you take lessons like that and say, okay, well, I shouldn't have put the damn things down, right? And so I had to look in the mirror, even though I could have blamed everybody in the world. And believe me, the thought goes through my head like, hey, how can somebody mess up? But if you guys see how anal I am with different things, that's one of the reasons, right? So I will check if things are loaded correctly. I'll check if things are set up correctly. I'll check all of this stuff when I compete. And people think like, oh, I'm overthinking it. No. I've been in the situations where I've got screwed over really bad. So things like that, but like opening those doors, I had to create the way, right? Like for myself. So qualifying, you got to beat somebody and you got to take the opportunities and compete more. And then you make a name for yourself, right? So like for me, the goal really was to compete more and then build it up to where as soon as I possibly could, I wanted to compete less, right? So I wanted to get to that spot, because essentially the fact of the matter is, if you're good enough, you can compete wherever you want, whenever you want.
So I had a 3 year.
This is the truth.
I had a 3-year plan for that as an amateur. As soon as I went pro, I did what Kevin did, and I took everything I could get. My first pro year, anything anyone would give me, I took it. And then the second year, I was like, okay, cool. Now I got a podium. So I had a year in between for the Arnold, because Worlds ended up happening with COVID or whatever it was. But that second year, I knew it was okay. I need big finish. I need a big podium. I need something, because then my third year, I might have some negotiation power. Sure. And that's kind of, I think a lot of people miss that, is that, like you said, you need to put yourself in position as quick as humanly possible to compete as little as possible, to compete as long as possible and accomplish as much as you can. Yeah. But the problem is a lot of guys, they take those shows and they don't stop doing that. So that first year, all you really want to do is prove that I am realistic. I hate to say it, but from the business side of the sport of those big shows, I am entertaining, which comes with being good. And competitive. Yeah, but once you've proven you're competitive, you're entertaining, you're a gamer, as the Canadians would say, that's when it's, okay, I have negotiation power. Problem is, a lot of guys don't pull that trigger once they start podiuming, and they still start taking contest. Yeah. And to me, that's just a quick way to go out the door. Yeah. Well, your mileage, man. You only have so many miles to go on your body, and so that's kind of the other side of it. But taking that into context, I guess, right? Like, is that all of your strategy? Like, do you guys all feel the same way? Like when it comes to competing, because I know, Evan, you compete more or have competed more. Yeah. Is that kind of, you want to stay more active with competing, or is it more like, hey, that's just what I'm going to do right now, and then we'll see what the future holds?
It's kind of a combination of both, honestly. I look at every opportunity that I'm given, and I analyze the title that I could possibly win, the payday, obviously, the toll that it would take on my body from the events, and then I'll put in order which events, which competitions are the most significant to me. Makes sense. And I'll prioritize them. But also, this is just for me personally. I don't do well being stagnant. Like I don't do well with a long time off. I feel like that actually negatively impacts me. So staying relatively competitive throughout the year is what I've found to be best for me.
Now, is that from a training standpoint, where if you're, let's just say you're 6 months out from something, which is probably too long, or you're thinking too long. Yeah. Now, is that something where you get bored with training for only one contest for that long? Or is it more that you just enjoy competing? It's fair if you enjoy. Yeah.
At the end of the day, I do what I love. I love to compete. I enjoy it in front of crowds, for cameras, everything like that. I love what I do. Yeah. So it's almost like I'm every single day I go in there and I train my ass off, but I'm just itching to get on the competition floor. It's like I feel like I'm ready to go. Like I want to pull the trigger. Let's do this, and I still have 5 more months of training.
So I've got a question for you. It's got to do with American Strongman, but you in particular have had a string of bad luck,
Yeah.
to say the least. Do you feel like you are under more pressure than the rest of us because you have kind of a lack of game film, so to speak, from the past, like, I would say year and a half, not 2 full years, but just where
I was saying 21, I podiumed everything I did. So
yeah, but that's so, and those were all giant shows, 100%. But do you feel like at larger shows, maybe you missing that game film? Do you feel pressure? Do you have a strategy to break into the other American contest, like maybe America's Strongest Man, maybe the Arnold? Because I think you're missing out.
I don't really have an interest in America's Strongest Man, to be totally honest. I mean, it would be cool to have the title, but at the same time, why?
Paid $25K this past year.
Well, the only focus that I really have is World's Strongest Man. That's the reason why I started training the way that I do. It's why I'm committed to doing what I do every single day. World's Strongest Man has always been the goal.
You know, for most people, I say that's a mistake, but I think right now that's actually probably the best thing you could be doing. Because I think a big performance from you this year is gonna. I mean, we were talking earlier, like who's gonna move, what's gonna happen. I think a big performance at Worlds, man. I think you're gonna see a lot of traction roll. Yeah, real quick.
And that's what I'm kind of gunning for the most. It's like this entire prep for World's Strongest Man, I've been training with a real chip on my shoulder. Like we all have those days where we have really awesome training days, and we'll post something on Instagram like, "Oh, the guys at World's Strongest Man better watch out because I'm feeling really good," or something like that. But at the end of the day, like I feel like a lot, just for me personally, a lot of people, because of the bad luck that I've had, a lot of people kind of count me out.
Yes,
and that
is a mistake.
There is no other way to say it. That pisses me off.
Let me ask you this, Evan, and it's simply out of curiosity. Well, for all you guys, right? Let me see if I can phrase this correctly. Winning World's Strongest Man, that title for you, because obviously, you're saying it right now, and the reason I'm asking, you're saying it very clearly. Like that's your goal. That's what you want to get done, right? Which is fair. Like it's a fair point. What does that do for you?
It makes me feel like I've fulfilled my purpose.
Okay.
I wake up every single day, and my first thought is, what am I going to do today to help myself become the world's strongest man?
Okay.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Winning that title is my purpose.
Fulfills your purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to sound too corny or like a fairy tale movie or something like that, but I feel like this is my destiny. Mm-hmm. I do. I believe that. I really do.
That's fair. Yeah. I'm just curious. Like it's because I think a lot of guys like go into it and talk about it. And again, I don't want to name names because they're not sitting here and I can't ask them obviously, but I think that I have, obviously talked to guys before that have kind of put that in and then won, but then it wasn't necessarily what they were expecting. That's why I'm asking you, right? Like it's kind of like, where does that hunger go? Where does that fire go? Or is it like, is one title, does that lock it in enough where it's like, I've now got that monkey off my back. I'm pleased with that. Because in all fairness, that can't be taken away. And right, that like then you go back to what I've been very public with about records versus titles, right? Because titles, you earn a title, man. Well, then you've got one of those, right? And nobody can ever take that away.
Well, so that's where you and I are completely same opinion.
And I've heard you say that too.
Opinion. Yeah. I get asked all the time. I have a good deadlift session. Someone will leave a comment on my post about, are you going to go for the 505 deadlift? It's like, no,
that needs to die.
Like with all due respect to the record setters and the people pursuing getting a world record, all due respect, I do not care about what you want. I want to win a title. I get one of those, that is mine forever. Eventually somebody's going to come along and break your record. It's just going to happen.
Can I translate Evan real quick? I don't think that's your end all be all, man. I think you're just excited to be Evan Singleton, world's strongest man, and what that life looks like. I don't think that's your final destination at all.
No, I don't think that's the final destination. No, I have no intention of stopping after one.
Cool. That's what it sounded. I think that's what it sounded like. You might have been saying. Like,
no, I want to make this clear. Like I want to win worlds as many times as I can.
Yeah. Okay.
I want there to be no doubt that it wasn't just a fluke that I won one time. I want to win multiple times.
Just fair.
And you can't. I don't think in all seriousness and just being truthful, I don't think you can answer that question until it's done.
Yeah.
Right. Because I remember everything was so focused for me going into 2011, where it's like, all right, I'm coming off literally a tie, the only tie in history at World's Strongest Man. So the motivation is obviously very high. All of these factors, pissed off, whatever, going into that. So winning that, there's questions that come, guys that were training with me, you go win World's Strongest Man. What happens? Right? And that's where some of the guys that were even around me questioned, like, okay, what's going to come out of this? Right? Like, is the intensity going to be the same? And for me, it was very much okay, that's done. Now we're moving on, right? So I celebrated. I woke up in the morning, I saw the trophy, and I was like, all right, now that celebration's over, right? And I'm back to training. So it's not like I was never going to rest my hat on one. I was not going to back down from anything, and that was my mentality. So it's until you get into it, but then I've seen the complete opposite, man. I've seen guys that have won and have literally called it at that moment, I'm done. Right? Like, I can't do that again. I'm never doing that again. I'm not like, it all worked out. I'm happy. I'm done. And it was like, hearing stuff like that to me, because of the way my brain works and the way I approach it, is crazy. Right. But everybody reacts different, man. It's like, well, I've done it. And now maybe that fire, that hunger, that passion goes away a little bit. And it's but again, you can't, until you're in that moment, you can't answer that question. Oh, so it'll be interesting, but I'm just thinking, like, okay, if you think about it in that context, because obviously at the end of the day, man, all of us sitting at this table, that's the goal, right? And it's silly to even ask that question, because it should be, you're going to this, you're at this level, you're dedicating the time, effort, energy to do what we're doing. That you're going there to do as well as you possibly can. Yeah. Bottom line, right? It's just coming out of it. I was just, the way you were saying that, that's the reason I'm asking it. It's not, you won't be able to answer it fully. It's just kind of you thinking about it. But it's that feather in the cap. Yeah. Right. It's kind of that check mark. Like, I got this done. My name is on the list. And I think that's a good way to think about it. Like, right now, that's, in all fairness, you can't even say anything different than that. That's what you should say. And like, it's those questions only get answered after that happens, right? So it's unique. So how do we continue to grow Strongman? I think that's the next thing. So you guys, I think you all obviously started significantly after I did, right? So it's interesting for me to ask that question because of the context of timeline, right? Because I got to see a different strongman core, and then it's changed. So it's all changed, and it's gone from, where it was in I'm not going to say it's infancy, because it's been around for a very long time, but also I think the growth that has happened has been big in the last, well, let's say even the last decade. Right, like last 10 years, huge, right? So what are your thoughts on that, on the growth, what's happened within the sport? Like, how do we keep that growing forward? And this can be within the States or just in general, like as a sport in general.
Well, I think we have to remember we're not TV productionists, we're not cameramen, so we have to focus on what we can accomplish as an athlete. And not to put this in layman's terms, but I think the simplest thing we can do is not be a dick.
Yeah.
Like, I kid you not. Like, I really think that is, we get flown places. We don't pay to go anymore.
Yeah.
We get paid to be there. Most of the time, we're given a food stipend or food's provided. Other than those 4,000 people in those stands, if we're standing around the VIP section, paid God knows how much money to show up.
Yeah.
And I get that, it's they're paying for a production, a service, and they're getting it. But when you walk up to a kid, or I did this at the Arnold, and I kind of regret it. Not really though. I walked up to a kid's dad who had come the previous year, seen me, spoke to me, and said, "Hey, I'm here. I've got your shirt you gave me last year." And I introduced him to a couple guys. I looked up at his dad. I was like, "Hey, can I take your kid with me real quick?" And grabbed him, held his hand, introduced him to one or two of the guys, brought him back. Little things like that. Just not breaking the stereotype of the large, muscular man with a beard covered in tattoos. Like, we're intelligent. We're not animals. We have to be smart to do this. And if you want to continue to grow the sport, you have to let people know they can do it. So we need to know the lawyer, or dare I say, not in a destructive term, the nerd that's in the 5th grade needs to know that he can come do strongman, and we won't eat him alive.
Sure.
Staying humble, keeping the arrogance out, keeping the ego out. And I think across the board, I think we're all on the same page as far as that. Like, no one wants to watch an asshole,
Yeah.
It's staying humble. It's always giving back to the people that are supporting you by your performance and how you react to them and how you react on the camera, everything else. I think that's how it grows, because time and time again, every person I talk to, they just say, like, this sport is so open, so it's beautiful. It's passionate. You guys are passionate about what you do, the hard work, everything, every piece of this, and the time we put into it is, there's no room for anything else but that.
Which is what makes Worlds so cool, because the way they station people, in my experience, you may be able to tell me this wasn't the case. You don't always, and fans are going to hate me when I say this, you don't always want, need, or can afford a long exchange with a fan. But if you walk up like after an event and give that dude a high five who's just screaming behind you because you passed out on a log press, he's telling all his buddies about his work. He's buying your shirt. He's coming back to Worlds. He's telling he might go pick up a log.
Yeah.
Little stuff like that. Just what Kevin said.
What do you think, Trey?
Yeah, like Kevin said, be humble. No one wants to be around the arrogant guy that, thinks he's all that. Like the world revolves around him. When you're humble, and friendly with, everybody, that all the fans and everything, they want to be there, want to support you, and you just that helps them want to be around it more often, not arrogant athletes.
I think, growth-wise, one of the things, and I'm sure you guys have seen this happen, but like for me, for example, and I've learned this a lot of different times, people respect and care about how you treat them, and not so much about your performance. And the reason I'm saying that is I have been to a lot of different things, the Arnold in particular. We don't need to go into all of that, but there's been a couple moments at the Arnold that there were questionable finishes. That's all I'm going to say, where I ended up in second place. I didn't sleep the entire night, right? Like, didn't go to sleep, didn't relax, didn't calm down at all. But due to obligations and responsibilities, I had to go to the expo the next day, right? And I learned in those moments that line of people that's waiting, they didn't understand what had happened, right? But also, I don't know that they cared. And I gave each and every one of them their time and attention, like, even though I'd been up all night, whatever. And to me, I had been thinking about it from an athlete perspective, where I put all this time and dedication, hard work, and here was the end result, which challenged me mentally in a lot of ways. But I was able to go get back to them and interact with them. And that's truly what they care about. So what you guys are saying is absolutely correct. It's, you're humble, you're a good athlete, you treat them the right way. And I'm like, for example, this year I'm doing a free meet and greet with people after World's Strongest Man. I promise you I will be there for probably 8 hours.
So you figured out where we learned this stuff from yet?
Like for a line. There'll be a line for, I don't even know how long, right? And I'm going to do that. I did it in 2021, but it's like, these are the things where if the athletes within the sport can understand this, and I get it. Like that line of people for me has been building for 20 years, right? So it's not like, certain guys there. When I was started, my line wasn't as long. Let's just put it that way, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like me going to this and doing this and giving back to the fans. I'm not getting paid a dime, right? If anything, it's
costing you time.
Costing me time, but the reward that I will get from that is more personal, right? So it's like that interaction with people and the way that you make them feel. That's what's so important.
Yes,
and that's what will ultimately grow the sport in so many ways, because the guys are good guys. And again, by and large, right, if there's somebody within the group of strongmen, because I'm not going to say every competitor that I've ever competed with was a good guy and would interact with fans that way. That's just simply not true, and it's a false statement. But I will, and I know there's other guys that will, right? And so the more that you do that, the more that it will grow, and the more that people will be drawn in. Normal, and this is normal people, right? People that have never even experienced strongman, that have never watched it, don't even understand necessarily what the events are. They just know something awesome is happening and they're watching it.
Well, and it comes down to, okay, so last year's Shaw Classic, I mean, your line
I was just about to say that.
was crazy.
Yep.
Was crazy. And as other athletes, I mean, our lines died and we took off, and you stayed there till what, 11:30 at night?
Probably midnight.
You stayed there to see every single person, though.
Yep.
And it didn't matter. I knew you were tired. Everyone, but you stayed and you talked to every single person, and that shows what type of man you are, and what you're trying to give back to the strongman community and everything else.
You're responsible for a lot of these answers that just happened right now, by the way. You got to remember, we grew up watching you. So like,
I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, we grew up. Well, excuse me, I grew up watching you. Watching you as an athlete that came into a contest, getting into strongman, hearing about the way you were, and having people who didn't know you, quite frankly, telling me how you were. And I was like, okay. I was like, cool, because at the time I was still an angry young dad bouncing in bars, trying not to go to prison. So to hear that was taking off in a sport really kind of opened a lot of doors and kind of breakthroughs for me.
That's awesome.
I still remember the first time that I met you. I was the alternate and equipment tester at Worlds 19.
Yep.
I remember that. We had a good talk outside the athlete tent, right?
Yep. It was right outside the athlete tent. I didn't say anything to you. I didn't I didn't want to mess with your headspace or you focusing on it, because if I'm not mistaken, it was the time in between Stones, the last event.
Yeah.
And I wanted to introduce myself, and I wanted to just talk to you for like 2 minutes.
Yep.
Because I didn't know when I was going to get to see you again.
Sure.
So I went up to you, I introduced myself, and you were so welcoming and so just completely open about everything. You were willing to talk to me. Like I remember one of your guys was waving you in, like, hey, we need to get your leg compressions on.
Yeah.
You were like, all right, here, come back with me.
Yeah.
So I went back to your area in the athlete tent, and I kept talking to you.
Yeah.
And I kept talking to you for a solid 15, 20 minutes.
Sure.
I mean, that was my first that was my first World's Strongest Man. That was my first big show. I didn't really know anybody that well yet. Yeah. And I remember I got home after that Worlds, and I got your Shaw Strength shirt just because of that experience. Awesome. I was like, dude, that was one of the best experiences with somebody that's so high up. That's something that I'll remember forever.
Not to stay on the Brian train, but do you guys remember in 2020 at Worlds where he kicked the camera crew out of the athletes meeting called by the athletes?
Yep.
I said no cameras.
I remember that.
Boom, gone. Bodies out the door. Yeah. That was probably one of the coolest moments.
Asked nicely, and then when they wouldn't leave, you finally did.
Yeah.
Well, it's important to me, man. You guys are important to me, right? Like that's the truth. And I think that, for that interaction, right? Like I have learned in my life that how you treat one person is how you treat everybody, right? So I've been privileged enough to be at some very high level events where I have quite literally had conversations with guys that are billionaires, but I would treat that person the same as I would treat somebody at the grocery store that came over to just talk to me. Right. Yeah. And that's the truth, literally the truth. And I, in the moment, the crazy part is I didn't realize there was one in particular. that I was talking to, and I left the conversation. It was a great conversation, and somebody walked over and they're like, "Do you realize who you were just talking to?" I didn't know, right? But at the moment, it was like, again, I'm just treating him how I would treat everybody else. But the guy was quite literally a billionaire, super, super powerful, whatever. But you leave those interactions, and I think it's these moments that are impactful, right? And it's just the way that you approach the situation, because the person that's been waiting in line, let's just say somebody's waiting for, I'll have people drive, if I do an appearance, probably 10 or 12 hours sometimes, right? So they've been in the car for 10 or 12 hours in the car, then they get in line, then they're maybe waiting another, let's just say another 2 hours, right? I might get, let's just say 2 or 3 minutes potentially with that person for all of that time they've now dedicated. So if in that 2 minutes, let's just say that I'm hungry, I'm tired, I've got a headache, whatever. I don't feel optimal. But if I don't give them that 2 minutes or 3 minutes after all of the time they just put in, now what are they going to do? They're going to leave that moment and say, God, Brian was such a waste of time, man. Like, why did I do that? Why did I dedicate all of that? But instead, you treat that person like they are the most important. That's the way that I think about it. Right? Like every person probably did that or has gone through that to be in that moment there. So I try to approach every situation that way. But when you do that, people understand it and they can feel it. They understand they're not wasting your time. You're just dedicated to, and it's like you, man. It's like that moment. If I would have blown you off and said, you know what, I don't even know your name, man, but you're wasting my time. Like, don't talk to me. What don't you see I'm busy? Don't you see I've got to do this? Don't you see I'm stressed out? I've got to compete, whatever. Right. But if I didn't take that moment, you wouldn't have that memory. Right. And you would remember that I was an asshole to you. Right. Yep. And you would probably, how many people would you have already told after?
Lots.
Yes, right.
I would have made a Facebook group about it.
Yeah.
I would have made YouTube videos about it.
I don't know about that far, but
smear campaign.
People that hate Brian Shaw.
Right. Yeah. But this is the point, though, right? Like, and it's cool. I mean, it's cool to hear you say that, but I would do that for you, and I would do it for the next young guy that's coming up that wants to learn or is invested in it, and that's it's a trickle effect, though, because my hope would be that, and I've seen this with you too. You're nice to people, right? So now that you're I'm going to say a somebody, right? People follow. You've got into the sport. You've had success. You've done things now, right? So you've got up on a level, right? Whereas before that was let's just say base level. Right. Now you're up here. So now you're going to have somebody else that's at base level that's going to potentially look at you. And all of us are like this, right? Because now the level is up. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that would love to be sitting at this table and having this conversation and being to go into World's Strongest Man and being part of this training crew and what's going to happen the next couple of days. But you guys are here, right? And now somebody else is going to look at you. So my goal for this would be for you to then take that, all of you, and say, hey, I'm going to be nice to that next person. Or it's a complete trickle effect, right? And that's the whole thing. It'll spread like that. Yep. Whereas if the guy like me, whatever, that's maybe because I'm in the, let's call it a 20-year room, right? Where I've been in it 20 years, like or longer, right? Like there's not many people in that room. So you guys are in the, let's just say 5-year room, however you want to say it. You understand what I'm saying? So you're not quite there yet, but there's somebody that hasn't quite entered the 1st-year room. Yep. Right. That's going to look to you guys and say, well, God, I want to be in that 5-year room. Right. And you guys are saying, hey, I want to be in the 10, 15, 20-year room. Yep. Right. And then it's like that cascade down is what makes it grow. And that's the truth. Yeah. It really is the truth, because it starts from the top. Right. And if I wouldn't have done, some of the things that I've done, and my goal has always been to move it forward. Right. So, and you guys probably don't even realize how many meetings I've had with World's Strongest Man or whatever to go in and advocate for the athletes. Hey, we used to never have warm-up equipment. Well, guess what? We need warm-up equipment, right? That was a battle that I went to fight. They used to not hand out trophies, right? So the trophies were styrofoam. You guys probably don't realize
this. Yeah, I remember this.
So I went to Sven Carlson's house. He had a third, a second, and a first.
All styrofoam.
And he's like, I said, man, like, those are awesome. He's like, don't touch them. They're styrofoam. Because they were a movie prop. Seriously. Right? So, and the first year I won, Mariusz Pudzianowski, 2008, they wanted to take the trophy back. And he said, you're not getting this from me. Like, you go ahead and try.
Wasn't he a semi-pro kickboxer before he did Strongman?
No, he's a boxer.
I might have paid somebody to try and take that trophy.
Well, he was taking it home, it literally didn't leave his side. Literally didn't leave his side. And I said, look, like there's guys, and I've seen these guys that have trained their whole life to get on the podium at World's Strongest Man, and they would walk away. And I'd take you guys up and show you some of the trophies we used to get, but they would at best give you like a little etched piece of glass that said second place at World's Strongest Man or third place. And it was really, I went into a meeting and said, hey, look, these guys work this hard. You have to get good trophies for them, first, second, and third, right? And that was a meeting that I had, and I said, this is important to me, and I would like to see that done. And thankfully, like once you have enough of those meetings, they have improved greatly, like to their credit. Like some of this stuff, the warm-up equipment, the trophies, the organizing side of it, like has got a lot better. So, I mean, I will say that, but it's like, it's cool that you guys don't have to realize some of those things, like that it was that far away, and now it's like, hey, it's much better, right? So it's coming in. Not that it can't get better, because everything can. Well,
no,
get better,
but it's the fruits of your labors. You're seeing your work unfold, and it's not only helping you, but it's helping everyone that comes after.
Yeah,
and that is something. I'm sorry, that damn trophy can't. Like doing that, that's cool, but that's the ripple effect, Brian.
You walked so we could run.
Yeah, that meeting wasn't about a damn trophy. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It may have been to you then, but that's not how that was.
Sure,
no.
Well, it's bigger than that, man. And I mean, my goal would be to see you guys take it, you know what I'm saying, and run with it, just like you're saying, and run with it and do great. But feelings, let's kind of, I feel like we're getting deep, which is awesome. But feelings, I want to know your feelings going into World's Strongest Man. That's what I want to know. How are we feeling? How are we feeling?
I feel good. Feel good, feel fast, dangerous. One of the things that I've picked up on the most in this off season was my conditioning.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've been doing cardio. We were talking about this yesterday. I would push the heavy tank for like 30, 40 minutes straight with no breaks.
Yeah.
I'm doing my wind sprints. I'm doing my sandbag runs. I'm doing all of it.
Yeah.
So
getting ready.
Yeah. So the static is going up.
Well, how's your body weight?
About 350 right now.
350. So you're a touch lighter then.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've noticed more muscle mass though, like in the shoulders and
where
a little bit in the back.
Where was it? I don't know.
Hey, he did just join the 400-pound strict club.
What's that?
He did just join the 400-pound strict press club. So
yeah, I was pretty happy about that.
A log out of a rack.
Your face when I said that. Where was the mouth? It was just a joke, Evan. You look.
Well, all the first things that came to my mind is a rebuttal.
For anybody that's listening on audio, Evan is in an extremely tight shirt and he's trying to show off his muscles. It's there. I see
and there's
it.
people who can't see that Brian's head has never been fatter.
Well, that's good, man. So you're feeling good. The conditioning, body weight down a touch.
Feeling good.
Making the game plan. Awesome, man. You guys.
Cool as a cucumber. I'm not getting excited till I get there.
Yeah. You're down body weight now too, Bobby. So
dude, I'm down like 45 pounds.
A lot. Yeah. So how are you feeling with that package?
So I feel really good, to be honest with you. I feel the healthiest I have in a very long time.
Okay.
I don't want to say I'm fast. I'll say I'm quick. My work engine is, I can do some pretty dangerous things on low food. My technical skills have changed a little bit just because moving weight at a different weight feels different. But with also, a lot of it was midsection bloat for me. I had a very hard stomach. Like in Strongman, there's like 2 stages of fat. There's like the really fat that's like soft and long, and then there's just the hard stomach. And for me, that was actually contributing to a lot of digestive issues. We talked about that.
Yep.
And then I'm just getting bent over. For static, I was dangerous. If I don't have to move my feet, I'm a problem.
Yeah.
But you got to move your feet in Strongman.
Yes, you do.
This isn't powerlifting.
Yep.
And I wasn't getting better. Other guys were.
I would say you probably, like, physically. I mean, I guess I'd have to think about everybody. Physically, you might be bringing the most drastic, different packaging of all the guys.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a significant drop in weight.
I did it about 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, I think. It was time.
Yeah.
It was a huge mental relief once I did it. That was kind of cool. I got past right around 340. I was kind of like, I don't like being this skinny. And then my lowest, I got to 321. And I woke up that morning. I got on the scale. I was like, oh, that's great. I was like, it felt amazing. I didn't have to warm up to get up out of bed. Like my back.
You had to do that before?
I was having a lot of swelling issues in my legs.
Man.
And it was causing extreme hamstring tightness.
How would you warm up? Just to get out, or was it like a rocking type of thing?
No. So
I'm picturing something in my head.
I would sit up and I would sit to where my legs were at like a 90-degree angle.
Okay.
And then I would basically try and stretch my hamstrings from that position, see how it felt, see if my lower back felt okay. And then at the time I was working with quad tendonitis, patella tendonitis, IT band syndrome, my umpteenth adductor tear of whatever, and then my knee, my whole right leg, and I had zero external rotation in that hip. So that was also losing weight helped with that. But I would wake up in the morning and all of those things at once were not common.
Yeah.
Having that did happen. Having one or two of them to contend with was always a thing. And my quad tendon would hurt so bad it'd wake me up out of my sleep.
Man alive.
And I'd wake up, stretch, go back to sleep, get tight again, but not so tight it was that painful. But I didn't need to be getting up and walking around on that.
Yeah.
I didn't need to be doing it. So it's been rough, man.
That's good. I'm ready to see you perform, man.
Oh, I'm pumped,
It's
dude.
awesome. What do you think, Kev?
I'm kind of going in with a little chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because of anyone, but because of the last 2 years.
I was going to say, yeah.
Being right there to go into the finals. And I mean, last year was different.
So for anybody, to set the stage a little bit, for anybody listening, Kevin has been just about as close as you can be in the stone off. 2021, you put the stone over here in the final, slip, and your foot slipped, and it just was, you could tell. I mean, because you were against Luke Stoltman there,
Yeah.
and you could tell Luke was done.
Yeah.
Right. And I could tell it. And I was like, oh, if Kev puts this over, it's game over. You could see the look on his face too.
Yeah.
You could see
It was right there.
Yep. So that was that close. Then this last year, again, stone off.
Tore the belly of my bicep on the second stone and ended up making it all the way to the end. Excruciating pain.
Yeah.
And loading that, what was it, 460 at the end?
I think, 460. Yep.
For a double, and then picking it my third time, and my arm wasn't even working. Everyone after was like, why were you loading just with your left?
Yeah.
Because my right wasn't even working.
Yeah.
You
We
know?
are just so in the moment, man. It's like you're
I don't care.
adrenaline
I don't
pumping.
care. I mean,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if I did make it to the finals with the torn bicep, I made it to the finals.
Absolutely.
And people,
again.
Yeah.
you know, and people will be like, well, then you're giving up a spot for somebody. Yeah,
No, you're
but that's
not.
not
You
the
earned
thing.
it. You
I
earned it.
earned that spot.
Bro, anybody that's not a high level competitor, they can sit on the couch and have that type of opinion.
100%.
And I don't subscribe to that at all, right? Like that means something, and I know it means something. So you should have a chip on your shoulder, and going through that, like anybody that's had that type of thing happen, is not easy, right? So for you to mentally check out the way you did says a hell of a lot, right? So you should have a chip. I'm pumped, man. I love hearing that.
So
great.
other than that, I'm feeling really good. Feeling really good. Body's feeling really good. Stones are going really good. So I'm ready to battle.
Love it.
I'm really excited. This year's going to be good for all of us. So,
Love it. What do you think, Trey?
Sorry.
That's for the audio. I'm dealing with a lot of pains here and there, little nicks here and there, just beat up a lot with hard training and little tweaks. But that's never stopped me in the past. You know, my past competitions, I've come in, you know, beat up and still perform well. And just because like I feel like if I come in as an underdog, like it always helps me work harder, perform better
Mentally from that position.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, man. And I think that's an interesting point you bring up. You know, with training, you're going to get banged up, man. Like here's a simple fact. Like you doing strongman, if you're not waking up a little sore, you're not working hard enough. Mm-hmm. So I think having a couple little things, it's just what level, level of
How bad is
How
this?
bad is that little tweak?
Yeah.
Pain don't hurt.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're going to be all right, man. And you know, you've proved it the last couple of years. So it's, again, just showing up and being ready to perform, brother. Yeah, that's good. You should answer that more confidently.
That was as emotional and confident as he could possibly be.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I've
we're
seen
talking about,
pissed off
the
Trey.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more emotion in there.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
not the fake confidence like over here, Mr. WWE.
So wait,
John Cena.
may I translate real quick? I believe Trey just said, "I wake up this way."
Yeah.
Ugly. Got it.
Okay. Obviously, we're getting a little hangry here, and
That was so
and
stupid.
I need to get these guys fed to keep on track. But definitely appreciate you guys coming in and talking, chatting. I feel like that was really good, and I think there's a lot of things that people listening to this can potentially take away. I mean, it's a lot of insight into American strongman in general. The passion, everything that goes into it. So I'm excited to have you guys here. I think we're gonna sharpen it up and really dial things in with the training. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys perform at World's Strongest Man. I mean, after being here, there's a little bit of expectation that I'm going to place on you. So there you go. I'm already placing on myself, so we don't even need to mention
I was
that.
going to say, I'm not really what you think about me. I know what you want out of you.
Yeah.
You got full hands.
Yeah. We gotta make it work. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this, if you got something out of it, please share it. It's the best way to help the growth of the podcast and to get these guys' attention. And if you're not following any of these guys, please look them up, give them a follow, give them some love, and it's gonna be exciting. Could be exciting. So we're gonna get out of here because we need to eat.
Yes.
And that is what we do. So that's a factual statement. But anyway, I hope you're all doing amazing for now. Go out and be great. We'll check you guys later.